We spend so much of our lives pushing, pulling, striving, trying to make things happen as though the whole universe were a stubborn door that refuses to open unless we lean our entire weight against it. And yet, have you noticed most doors open inward? If you push too hard, you only jam them tighter. We are taught almost from the moment we can walk that life is a kind of contest, that you must exert yourself, apply effort, drive your will into the world. And so we grow up clenching our minds, tightening our muscles, worrying ourselves into motion. We push our way through time. We force ourselves to succeed, to understand, to love, to be spiritual, even to relax. We make relaxation into another form of strain. But life, you see, doesn't work that way. Life isn't a machine to be forced. It's more like a melody. And you can't rush a melody without spoiling its song. Now, I don't mean you should sit about and do nothing. I don't mean you should let life slide by in laziness, but there's a very subtle art to letting things happen, to doing without forcing. The Taoists of China had a lovely word for it. Wu Wei, effortless action. Action without strain. It sounds like a paradox, doesn't it? Action without doing. But the meaning is quite simple once you feel it. It means moving in accord with the rhythm of things, like a surfer who rides the wave instead of trying to push it. He doesn't create the wave. He doesn't command it. He simply aligns himself with it. And so he moves effortlessly, beautifully, because he trusts its power. You see, the moment you begin to force life, you separate yourself from it. You create this division between me and what I want, and that tension makes everything harder. It's like trying to swim while holding your breath. You can't possibly float that way. Stop for a moment. Notice your own body right now. There's breathing happening without any effort from you. Your heart is beating, your blood moving, your thoughts rising and falling like waves on the sea. And you who think you are in control had nothing to do with any of it. You can't will your heart to beat faster for very long. You can't consciously digest your breakfast. Life does all of this for you automatically. It lives you in a sense. And if you try to interfere too much, you only disturb the natural flow. So when I say, don't force anything, I'm inviting you to trust this flow, to let life live itself through you without so much interference from the little anxious voice that says, I must make it happen. Imagine a flower trying to bloom by effort. It would strain, tighten, shiver in the sunlight, and yet its petals would never open that way. The flower doesn't say, I must become beautiful. It simply grows because growing is its nature. And so with you, you are not apart from the universe. You are the universe expressing itself as this person in this moment. When you fight the flow of life, you're like a wave trying to resist the ocean. But when you surrender, then the energy of the whole sea carries you. Now that word surrender, it frightens people. They think it means giving up. But it doesn't mean that at all. It means giving in to what is real, to what's already happening. Let's take an example. Imagine you're trying to remember a name. You know it's there on the tip of your tongue. But the more you try to drag it out, the further it slips away. You frown. You strain. You say, it's right there. I almost have it. And it doesn't come. But then later, when you're washing the dishes or walking outside or doing something completely unrelated, suddenly the name pops right into your head. Why? Because you stopped forcing. You gave your mind a little room to breathe. And in that space, the answer came all by itself. That's how the whole of life works. The harder you clutch it, the less it responds. The tighter you try to hold water, the more it escapes through your fingers. And so the art of living is not the art of controlling, but of allowing. To allow is not weakness, it's wisdom. There's a rhythm to things, a kind of breathing of the world. Expansion and contraction, growth and decay, rising and falling. Everything follows this movement. If you try to interrupt it, if you try to always be up, always expanding, always winning, you break the balance and the whole thing becomes painful. But if you can trust that the low tide will always return to high, that every night carries the dawn within it, then you begin to move differently. You stop fighting and you begin to dance. You see, not forcing doesn't mean you become passive. It means you become responsive like a tree bending in the wind rather than snapping beneath it. The tree doesn't resent the wind. It flows with it, and that's what makes it strong. Now imagine for a moment that life is like music. You wouldn't sit through a symphony just to hear the last note, would you? You'd let yourself be carried by the sound moment by moment. You wouldn't say to the orchestra, hurry up, get to the end, because the beauty lies in the unfolding. And yet that's how most of us live, always trying to reach the conclusion, the answer, the success, always forcing the tempo. But the meaning of life, you see, isn't in the conclusion. It's in the playing. When you stop forcing, you begin to hear the music that was always there. The music of now. Stop and listen. You may hear the sound of your own breathing, the hum of the room, the quiet pulse of the world beneath it all. That's life effortlessly being itself. It doesn't need your command. It doesn't need your push. When you force something, you imply that life is not enough as it is, that this moment must be different before it can be complete. But this moment right now is perfect in its unfolding, even in its imperfection, because what we call imperfection is just life still in motion. It hasn't finished its dance yet. Don't rush the dance. Don't force the rhythm. Think of a caterpillar forcing its way out of a cocoon before its wings are ready. It may tear itself apart trying to escape the process that is meant to strengthen it. The struggle of emergence is part of the becoming. But the timing, the when, is not the caterpillar's to decide. When you force yourself to bloom before your time, you suffer. When you resist blooming, when your time has come, you suffer again. So don't force, don't resist, just trust the unfolding. It's quite funny, really. We go through life thinking we are the doer when in truth we are being done. You don't beat your heart, it beats you. You don't think thoughts, thoughts think themselves. You don't even breathe. Breathing breathes you. And the more you realize this, the more you begin to laugh because you see the cosmic joke of it all. You were never in control and you never needed to be. You can work hard. Yes, you can move, create, explore, but when you do it because it's delightful, not because you must. Work becomes play when it's no longer forced. Even discipline can be gentle when it's born from love rather than fear. A musician practices not because he's anxious to be perfect, but because he loves the sound. A gardener tends the soil not to command it, but to be part of its miracle. This is the kind of action that flows effortless, joyful, real. Stop for a moment and consider what happens in your life when you stop trying to make everything happen. What space opens when you let go of the steering wheel for just a breath? You find that things keep happening anyway and often more beautifully than you could have planned. That's because forcing narrows the field of life. It blinds you to possibility. But when you release control, life reveals paths you didn't even know were there. You see, when a river meets a rock, it doesn't fight it. It flows around it. It still reaches the sea just by another route. So when life seems to block your way, perhaps it isn't an obstacle at all, but a nudge, a redirection. If you force your way through the rock, you'll only hurt yourself. But if you let go, you find another way. One that's already waiting for you. It's not laziness, it's intelligence. The intelligence of water, the wisdom of yielding. And isn't that what peace really is? Not the absence of motion, but the absence of resistance. So what happens when you truly stop forcing? Something remarkable. You begin to notice that life has its own intelligence. An intelligence far greater than the anxious plans of the mind. It's the same intelligence that turns an acorn into an oak, that guides the stars in their orbits, that shapes the tides and the winds. And that same intelligence is moving through you this very moment. It doesn't need your tension to operate. It only asks for your cooperation. When you stop forcing, you don't lose direction. You gain alignment. You no longer act against the current. You move with it. And in that movement, your actions gain a quiet power. They stop being the jerky motions of fear and become the graceful gestures of trust. You see, the paradox is this. The less you try to control life, the more you find yourself in harmony with it. The more you relax into uncertainty, the more certain you feel because you've discovered that you don't need to know what's next to be alive right now. Life is not a problem to be solved. It's a mystery to be lived. And mysteries reveal themselves only when you stop demanding answers. They bloom in silence like night-blooming flowers that open only when you stop shining your flashlight at them. Stop. Listen. Can you feel that quiet movement beneath thought? That gentle hum of being? That's you before you began trying to be someone. That's the effortless self. The one that doesn't need to prove or perform. The one that doesn't rush to fix or to force. It's been here all along, waiting patiently for you to stop struggling. We live in a world that glorifies effort, doesn't it? We are told that success belongs to those who grind the hardest, that peace comes from conquering the mind, that love must be earned, enlightenment achieved. But all of that is just more forcing, dressed in spiritual clothing. Real peace, real freedom arises when you let go of the idea that you must attain them. Because the moment you chase peace, it runs. The moment you try to force stillness, the mind trembles. But when you stop chasing, when you simply notice what is, peace reveals itself. as quietly as dawn spilling through an open window. You can't make the sun rise by shouting at it. You can only watch in stillness as it does inevitably perfectly on its own time. And that's how everything unfolds. Love, growth, clarity, purpose. They arise when the soil of your being is soft, when you're not pressing so hard for them to grow. Imagine you're trying to catch a soap bubble. If you snatch at it, it bursts. But if you open your hand gently, it may land right there, glimmering for a moment before floating away. That's how joy works, how love works, how truth works. You can only hold them by not holding at all. Now, many people fear that if they stop forcing, nothing will happen, and that without pressure, they'll lose all direction, become lazy or indifferent. But this is misunderstanding the nature of life. You see, the universe abhors stillness only when it's dead, and you are not dead. You're brimming with life. There's a deep spontaneity in you that wants to move, to create, to dance. When you stop forcing, you don't fall into inertia. You fall into rhythm. That rhythm may be slow at times, fast at others, but it's never forced. It's alive. It's like jazz. The beauty of improvisation comes not from controlling every note, but from listening deeply to what wants to happen next. You are part of that great improvisation, the music of existence playing itself through you. And when you try to force the music, you create dissonance. But when you listen, truly listen, you find that the next note comes naturally. The melody unfolds of its own accord. Have you ever noticed that the most beautiful things in life tend to happen when you least expect them? A sudden laugh that lightens your day, a stranger's kindness, a moment of insight that just appears out of nowhere. These things can't be forced. They come as gifts. They come when you stop trying so hard to deserve them. Forcing is the language of fear. Allowing is the language of trust. And trust, real trust, is the essence of peace. Now, I don't mean blind trust, not the kind that ignores reality. I mean a deep trust that even the difficult moments are part of the unfolding, that even confusion, pain, and loss have their own rhythm, their own hidden intelligence. The seed doesn't curse the darkness of the soil. It trusts that the dark is where it must begin. So when life seems heavy, unclear, or still don't force your way out of it, don't demand that spring arrive before winter is done teaching. Because forcing growth before its season only weakens the roots. When the time is right, you'll feel the movement again. You'll feel it the way a bird feels the change in wind, not by thinking, but by sensing. That's how life guides you when you stop forcing, not through plans, but through feeling. Listen right now. There is nothing missing. The universe in its infinite play has brought you here to this moment, breathing, listening, alive. You didn't force your way into existence, did you? You simply appeared, and that miracle continues every second effortlessly. All forcing is rooted in forgetfulness, forgetting that you are already part of the great design. The mind, when afraid, forgets its belonging and begins to shout commands at the ocean. But the ocean doesn't need to be told what to do. It's already dancing. Sometimes to remember that truth, you must be still. Not still as in rigid, still as in receptive, still as a mirror that reflects everything without holding anything. And in that stillness, you realize that nothing ever needed to be forced because everything has been unfolding perfectly, even the moments that seemed imperfect. The rain that ruins the picnic also feeds the earth. The delay that frustrates you may save your life. The failure that breaks your heart may open it wide enough for real love to enter. There's a hidden grace in what you didn't plan, but you can't see it while you're forcing. You can only see it when you let go, stop, breathe, look around. Everything is happening all by itself. The world turns, the air moves, the body breathes, and you are simply here. The miracle was never about making things happen. It was about noticing that they already are. When you stop forcing, you stop dividing yourself into the doer and the done. You become the happening itself. Life moves and you move with it. Thought rises, feeling comes, sound, silence, laughter, tears. All of it dances through you like wind through the trees. And the funny thing is when you live this way, not forcing, but allowing you actually become more effective, not less, because your actions come from clarity, not compulsion. They arise naturally, like ripples from a pebble dropped in still water. You see, doing flows best from being, just as words flow best from silence. When you know how to be still, truly still, then everything you do has depth. You're no longer reacting, you're responding. And response is always wiser than reaction. So don't be in such a hurry to fix, to solve, to change. Let life show you what it wants to do next. The universe doesn't rush, and yet everything is accomplished. Even stars are patient. Now, I'll tell you something. You don't have to make your life meaningful. You only have to stop resisting its meaning. It's already here in the laughter you didn't plan. In the tears you didn't hide, in the ordinary quiet moments between one thought and another, you are the meaning, not the project, not the goal, not the plan. You, this aliveness, are what the universe has been doing all along. So don't force anything, not your healing, not your love, not your understanding. Let them arrive when they're ready, like guests at a dinner who always come on time, though never at the time you expect. There's a great gentleness in living this way, a soft smile beneath everything, because you no longer struggle to hold what was never yours to hold. You simply participate joyfully in the flow, and when you live without forcing, you begin to see that everything, absolutely everything, is already moving toward balance. Even the storms, even the noise, even the chaos are part of the harmony. You can rest in that. You can trust it. So the next time you find yourself pushing, tensing, straining for life to be other than it is, stop. Notice the pushing itself, feel it, and then let it go. Because forcing is forgetting that you are already carried. And when you remember that, you can relax and simply float. You see, the art of living isn't about mastering life. It's about learning to be mastered by it. Let it move through you. Let it breathe you. Let it love you. And then quite suddenly, you'll laugh softly, quietly, because you'll realize that nothing was ever wrong. You were simply swimming upstream in a river that was already taking you home. So don't force anything, not even this understanding. Just let it sink in the way sunlight seeps into the skin. Do nothing about it. Say nothing about it. Simply rest in the ease of what already is. And there, in that stillness, you will find that life has been carrying you all along.